hello everyone, and hope you have also a sunny afternoon. Thank you for joining this session. And my brief presentation will be around operational resilience and third-party consideration. I will bring you up a little bit from the technical layer into rather the broader landscape around what is financial services companies, what are they coping with, how do they manage cyber risks, and then we will see basically also at the end how important it is to understand why deepfakes is a problem, especially when we talk around identity theft, and for example also what Stefan Arzt said with regards to code scanning, why this is important with regards not just to third-party consideration or supply chain, but also for your own production. Now, let us have a quick look on what operational resilience really means, and then go back on cyber. Now, the elderly ones in our group here will know what business continuity is, because that has been here for, I think, the last 30 years. And this moves now to operational resilience. Why? Because of the digitalization, we get a broader sense around the importance. The supply chain means we not just have to take care around our own business, but also ensure that the business of our suppliers and third parties are in shape so that we don't have any business interruption. So on the business continuity side, as you all know, this is rather asset-based. So we have processes, we have IT assets that we map together, where we do ensure that, if they fail, there will be another system to take on. On the operational resilience side, we are much more business-oriented. We want to make sure that the business process is running. We do not care if it's by an IT system or if it's by another IT system or by any manual process. And it has a stronger tone at the top approach rather than a pure IT approach. The other thing is, on the business continuity side, we see a vertical perspective. So I'm looking at my own perspective or my silo of the business process. I don't care around the whole organization. Operational resilience means much more comprehensive. The whole organization should be considered. On the business continuity, the main focus is how do I restore my, if something has happened. On the operational resilience, we already realized we will have failures. We didn't have that in the past. In the past, it was said, no, we don't want to have any failures. And if there's a failure, we don't accept that. We would like to restore as soon as possible. Now, we already have, today, we see there are incidents. We see that we have disruptions, and we have to welcome these. So we rather have to prepare for these and actually live with them. That's also a big difference between the business continuity and the operational resilience. And basically, we're going from a reaction to a prevention plan. And all of that basically is getting more and more important, not just because of the pandemic that we are still in, of the current ongoing war on terrorism. We all see that supply chains are lacking, that we have a problem with business disruption over there, but also with regards to cyber attacks, which obviously will get more and more important due to the digitalization, the strong interface with our suppliers and our third parties. And I would now like to focus a bit on the cyber attacks, as we have also a higher an overarching theme around cybersecurity. Now, let's take a very brief look at cyber risks and what is the difference between what we, to the other risk. Basically, it's a risk like any other else that we have in our financial services company to protect ourselves from disruption. And it's part of the operational risk. Now, in the future, we'll call that non-financial risks, but at the end of the day, it's just a piece and a viewpoint on risks that we do see in our organization. The cyber risks are defined as internal attacks against information and communication technology. And as such, obviously, they have a very high overlap with IT risks and IT security risks. Now, what's the big difference? The big difference is that with all of my operational risks, I rather looked into my own company, and maybe I looked a little bit into my suppliers to make sure that they're delivering the right services to me. This is what actually also Stefan Arzt said. They might have a problem, but at the end, you have the problem if they don't deliver the right software. So with cyber risk, there's an additional piece for the financial service industry, and that is trust in cyberspace. Think about all of our online bankings would not be available. This wouldn't be just a problem for you with regards to I can't get money from my ATM, or I can't go access to my online banking, but we would lose trust in our financial economy. And that basically has a really big impact. And therefore, the cyber risks are not just focused on your own company, on the financial services industry, but also on the overall, everyone using the services and needing trust in the economy. That's the big difference. Now, I could have said, now those are boxes and they're very clean and outlined, but let's take a very brief look at cyber risks within the continent. Now, on the left-hand side, and this is now what we could call Cfo Fraud. So it's a continuum. On the left-hand side, I clearly show you something that is not a cyber risk. So a physical letter is sent to an employee asking for money. Employee goes to the bank and transfers money over the counter. All of us, I think, will agree this is not a cyber incident. Now, on the right-hand side, we do see an email containing malware is sent to an employee and gathers access credentials. Money is transferred by the actor using these credentials. All of us are sure this is a cyber incident. But in the middle, an email is sent to an employee asking for money transfer. Online banking is used by that person to transfer the money. Is that a cyber incident? A technology is involved. So there is a continuum, but it's not a clear mark what cyber risks are. At the end of the day, from an operational resilience perspective, it does not matter. If that happens multiple times, you have to take action as a company to mitigate those risks, because otherwise you will have a business disruption. So cyber risks are not necessarily just very stringently defined. When we talk around cyber risk and operational resilience, we should understand very briefly what kind of actors do we have, because obviously we have to protect against them with regards to operational and maintain our operational resilience. Now, you all know they are the hacktivists. They receive, or motivation is to receive attention, getting heard, get a trophy. Actually, those people have normally very limited access to assets, to time, money, knowledge, and therefore you can very easily, actually, with simple measures or easier measures, protect against them. On the other hand, we have organized crime, employees, contractors. They have access to more money, more knowledge, and more motivation. The good thing is, most of the time, they just want to get money. And if you want to get money, it's always a business case, because you don't want to put in more money than you can get out. So with this in mind, you can actually increase the efforts by implementing measures to actually make it unattractive for organized crime to get into your data or disrupt your business. Now, the third party is actually state-sponsored organized crimes, and that is something we cannot really protect against, to be very honest, because these actors normally have tremendous time, money, knowledge, and motivation, and keeping them out of your business and away is actually quite difficult. Now, you must actually put a lot of money and budget into that, which you most probably do not have, and therefore you need intelligence defense to ensure that your business is not disrupted. However, thinking about what I said in the beginning with the operational resilience, you have to acknowledge that at some point of time, you will have a business disruption. And that's the paradigm shift and the change of thought. Now, when we briefly look into what is a cyber attack and how it unfolds, and really, really very, very brief, it's the same as you have in the real world, a robbery in a house, so people would come to your house, they would look at the villa, they would do some reconnaissance, they will weaponize themselves. What kind of keys do I need? They might tip your cleaning personnel to get a key, and then they go into the rooms and to the building and actually walk through it and get all the jewels out. Maybe they find, and that's the point, oh, that villa is really well protected. But look, next to it, where the household lives. And there's a nice way over from the household house to the villa. So maybe I will go into the household villa and then move over to the villa because that's easier. And this is actually done in the cyber world with your third parties. Why should I go for the well-protected company if I can go to a supplier of that company and actually invade that one and go from there to my villa? This is what Stephen asked at the beginning with the Log4j. Why should I actually go into the bank if I can go to the software supplier, which is not well protected, provides me with a software that is vulnerable, and by this actually I can get access later on to that villa or to that company. So that is why important to also think about third party. In addition, what's happening also is the longer you stay in the house, the more time you have to actually get all the information or all the crown jewels. In the electronic way, this is exactly the same thing. With cyber, it is that over time it worsens. Therefore, you have to act fast. And this is a very big difference between to what we see in the regular world, where you have a car accident happens, then the damage is there. With cyber, it continues over time, and you have to act fast and have to act actually appropriately. With this one, what you can see as phishing emails, and this is exactly when I refer to Martin Steinbach and his deepfakes. How easy is it to get a deepfake and into a conference and claim that I'm someone else and convince you to actually send me the money because I'm looking like your CFO? Now, when we think about these kind of technologies, actually, you understand why it's getting more and more difficult to protect you from business disruptions. So in short summary, cyber attacks are complex by nature, can be initiated by anyone from anywhere by any means, or everything is connected to the internet, makes it really difficult. They're targeted against digital, but also physical assets, as we've seen. They can be extended as suppliers, customers, and third parties are involved. So it's not just you as a company with regards to operational resilience and business disruption. You have to also take care around your suppliers, customers, third parties. They're continuing to develop, worsen over time. They're disguised, and sometimes you never see them. You don't see the starting point and not what has to be done. And they're unsolved as root cause may never be sufficiently identified. So overall, it's like a cloud. You don't know what you have in there, but you know it's a risk. Now, last slide. What is it that the companies in the financial service sector is actually struggling with? And this refers again back to the supply chain that Stephen said, or what Martin said with the deepfakes. The interesting thing is 31% of the financial service companies, they introduce new technologies knowing that they do not understand security implication. 36% state that incidents could have been avoided by having spent more money and thought on the measures. And basically, if you take a look at when something has happened, what Verizon said, 40% of successful cyber incidents start with internal failure behavior processes. Now, thinking about what we've just learned from Martin around deepfakes, if we are not keeping up on what is happening from a threat actor on the outside, hey, there are deepfakes outside, how shall we have security awareness in place to our people? How should we make sure that that our people know that they should not act on a video conference and transfer money? So it is the main point that people and people have to be aware, processes have to be provided, and basically you have to have a forward-looking view. And with this, I think those have been the 50 minutes. So as a takeaway, the business disruption has to be acknowledged as a potential, as a given. The business needs to be included. So cyber IT has to understand what the business is doing. And last but not least, there are many points that we actually can provide measures to understand how we can mitigate cyber attacks, actually prevent cyber attacks.